So, hi, Arun. Good
Hi, ma'am.
morning. Sorry to drag you
Morning.
out so early,
No, it's
but
okay.
it's important that we also. It's sad because usually at the IFFK we have a lot of opportunities to meet audiences and chat, etc. This year, this was not possible. So, we thought the best alternative is at least to have a one-to-one conversation and then put it out for people to see and hear about your work. So, just a quick introduction. Arun is a young filmmaker from Tamil Nadu, and this is Nasir is his second film that he's showing at the IFFK. I remember noticing his very first film, which was Shiva Puranam, and perhaps what one does look for in a filmmaker is the potential, in a first time filmmaker, is the potential of a style, engagement with cinema, and not only storytelling. So that I remember noticing Shiva Puranam very strongly at that time and wanting to know where you will go, etc. after that. So, congratulations. Your second film has done really well. It won the NetPack Award at Rotterdam. I watched the film the first time at Rotterdam, and I must say I was really moved by the whole film. So let's first, maybe it's not a good way to talk about start the conversation, but just to know how, why Shiva Puranam and Nasir, they're two very different kind of films. Is there something that happened in that gap? Because Shiva Puranam was a difficult film. It was not an easy film to, I mean, of course, marketing is one part, but also in terms of, getting people to understand what you were trying to do, etc. So if you could talk, and then you come to Nasir, which is a much more accessible film, talks about issues that are much more not much more contemporary, but contemporary issues. So if you could talk about a little about that change, or was there a change, or is it part of the same journey, etc.
Yes, ma'am. So I think with Shivapuranam, the pressing idea was to just make a film because uh, I mean, even now I'm this initial phase of my career, but at that time there was this rage to just go and make an independent film. So I mean, making plans as to like how can I like what is the budget that I could properly practically raise. Okay, and that was around 10 lakh rupees. Now I need a story, to make a film because yeah, I mean you wanted to make a film in which you could engage with your ideas of cinema and everything, but it also had to be a practical way because I had only made short films, and in that case, what is very different from Nasir is that I feel that there is a compelling or strong need to like engage with the subject. The choice of the subject and all of that is much more conscious, and the idea is not just to make a film. It's just a
Mm.
striking difference between these two. This thing. I think once I made my film Shivapuranam, and thanks to you that you programmed it in Mami, and then it was shown actually in Rotterdam, and then it's things started like happening slowly. But in that sense, I think in terms of style, I think it's still quite similar because similar in the sense how we follow in a minimal yet meticulous way a character, and through the character we get to know about his surroundings, or it kind of. So it's still a one-person drama, both these films, in the heart of it. But in terms of how I relate with the script and my whole process, and the change and the transition in the process, I think the market difference has been that sometimes I was 22 when I was making Shivapuranam. I just wanted to go out and just say things. In fact, now when looking back, it looks very. Sometimes it looks like a game that I played with images and sounds. Like having
Yeah.
fun. It's more playful kind of a. But here, you're already thinking about the ending, and you can't like play with the plot, and then play in the sense there is a bit of leverage that you can do with your or mise en scène and things like that in terms of structuring things, but at
Mm.
large characterization, writing, all of this became a bit serious, and I think that's for the good because every decision that you're thinking of is more conscious now, and it's more you're thinking of it from multiple viewpoints than not just talking or thinking about films. I think one particular quote helped me, that cinema takes from life and not vice versa. After that first film, no, sometimes as a cinephile you grow up to become to live within that. I mean, it's fun to explore those areas, but still, then you start thinking that actually these stories are much larger than you, and life has like much larger than all of these things, and cinema is just one small part of it. So these kind of things help to
So you
formulate
got
your
it out of your system, basically.
actually yes, yeah, in a way, yes.
Okay, so tell us, Nasir, um, the the germ of the idea, or is the story? Um uh, is the film very different from the story? What I mean, have you taken from the story? Is it only the character, the story,
Mm.
or just a little about the adaptation process?
So, so uh, the reason for Nasir is all the story actually. I mean, actually, this writer, he tells me that I kind of think of it as a metaphor. He says that stories have life of their own, and they can. I mean, once you've like made it, they always you can never control their how they'll move around and all that. So, so what I took from that particular short story was the way it was narrated. I mean, the techniques, the literary techniques that he had used, and how, and we found with our crew, with elaborate discussions, we somehow found the equivalence, cinematic equivalence of translating those ideas. But more importantly, in the Tamil text, this was a story that was set on the immediately after the 98 bomb blasts in Coimbatore. So, since the story is also based on a real person who actually died from a riot after the 98 bomb blast, with whom our story writer Dilip Kumar was in close contact with. When he was a boy, he was working in a cloth shop, and this elderly Muslim
Oh,
person was taking care of him. And suddenly he
oh,
found out this person was is no more because of the riot. So that compelled him as a writer to like write this story in 98. So what happens is he structured this character as a Sindhi Muslim in Coimbatore. And Sindhi Muslim, there are a lot of Sindhi people and a lot of North Indian Marwadi people in communities in Coimbatore, especially in that market areas. But his so those things are too specific, and there is very few
okay.
groups of Sindhi Muslims. So I kind of took it a little broadly, in the sense that he'll be a Tamil Muslim. He won't be a
Mm,
immigrant Muslim or Sindhi, which changes a lot
mm,
of things, because the way Sindhi Muslims look and the way they talk, and they also live as pocket communities between themselves and
mm.
all that. So that leverage I took of changing this thing, and his name was Mehboob Khan, so which is also a Sindhi Muslim name, so which is not very common name for a Tamil Muslim. So we changed few things like that, but largely a lot of the details that you see in the film, in fact, a lot of details that the audience like in the characterization of Nasir is actually from the short story, because the way he'd written, he would also write how many cups of tea he drinks in a day, and how many
Okay.
BDs he's smoking in a day, and what is the position when he's sleeping, and
Okay.
so all these pointers which kind of help you to imagine and construct the world of Nazir.
Yeah. So a little bit about the mise en scene,
Mm,
which I thought was a little similar in term with Shivapuran, in the in the well, actually, two things. One is the whole use of the close-up, which is quite in Shivapuranam very strongly there. Here also, I find that you use a lot of the close-up as a kind of way to touch characters, almost, like in
mm,
the shop, etc., where you get to know them so well, literally through this. And the second is the use of location. How you have again in Shivapuranam, your location, whether it was the mosquito net, or all that, location is a very important. So if you could talk a little bit about that. Was this
mm,
a location that was it a real location? Did you set it up? Secondly, soundscape, this
mm.
whole use of loudspeakers. So generally about the whole mise en scene, the way it has been shot,
Mm.
the almost the beauty of the shooting, I would say, the visual language. Yeah.
So, spending time in the location for about 2.5 years helped me to narrow down on all the real locations, ma'am. Because most of the locations that you see in the film are real existing places. This cloth shop is an actual cloth shop in
Okay.
the most busiest market in Coimbatore. So it's the market where middle class, lower middle class people go, not one of the shops on the mall. It's right on the street, and that whole street you have like cloth shops, and the neighboring street you will have just bangle shops. So it was like that. So I had to after spending time moving around the streets every day, I'll find that there are few shops which bring out the character of the story also, not their beautiful shops, because in a city you'll always find like some bigger shops and nicer shops and all that, but then there are some shops which lend itself to the quality of the story or the thing that you have in mind. So we were looking for spaces in each case, even Nasir's house. So Nasir's house is the only case where we set it up like almost like a studio. It was an old godown. So nobody
Okay.
would give their houses because it was too much to ask from people to give their houses for
Yeah.
10 days where we would rearrange everything.
Mhm.
So we did not want to do sets of any kind, because even when we were shooting on streets or cloth shop or bus stands, wherever, we wanted to just find a way of finding our shot in that space. So in that process, I think the first thing was do is to actually understand and finalize the location first. And then after you finalized with your cinematographer, once you understand how light and everything, how many people are going to be where and all that, you find the right vantage point from wherein you can film the feeling of the scene. So here, what helps is we don't storyboard or we don't think too much about what is the shot breakdown before the scene, or meaning in the previous days of preparation. Or so what we do is, so in this film there was another one extension of our process of working, especially between our editor Argo and Somu. They wrote essays to each other about how they think the film should be
Oh,
filmed or edited,
okay.
and they were beautiful essays. I mean, I was like, just peeping around and taking some elements from all those things, but just sometimes contributing. But most part, it was them kind of talking about so many ideas that were in the film. I mean, maybe some of it seeped through, but then that whole, that whole process of like talking about elements. For example, the close-up idea that you mentioned, it was we imagined it as if what are the objects that we're going to see from Nasir's life, okay, and how are we going to show them? How much that objects? I mean, like for example, his tape recorder, because it belongs to the character's reverie. It belongs to his memory, the character's memory. So, like the water pots or plants or whatever that we would see in close up, apart from his body, which I think in one person drama, if you have that, in a way, you're closely following a person, and in a way, it's also a comment on how cinema itself is a very voyeuristic act of like within that you have
Yeah.
limits of how you want to like show and why you want to show it and all that, but still it is, you derive a lot of pleasure from seeing a person, and that too, like a close up sometimes opens the meaning into an indefinite zone. It's not
Mm.
more. So from these essays, one thing. Second thing is, so from these essays we understand that there are some things we won't do. Like there are certain ways of filming that we will not do. So that was very clear, that how we will film or what the actual shot breakdown comes from being in that space, understanding the constraint of every space. For example, we liked the cloth shop in the this thing, but it was not so friendly to lay tracks or do movements. You can do a
Mhm.
certain kind of a movement only. So we try within that moment what is the moment, or something that we could say through this feeling. So more we were informed by the feeling of the scene and the shot there, rather than pre-planning the actual breakdown. But in most cases, what happens was, since Somu and Argo, they have very strong background in actually filming amazing narratives out of documentary or actualities. So
Mm.
there is always, even when you have an actor and when we do a couple of rehearsals with them and when we are in the real space, it almost feels like you let them behave in the real space and trying to find your shot from their behavior there. So in a way, it is improvisational also. Even though we have a script and everything, it's not very strict way of shooting. But then there is also an economy to the way we operate.
Yeah.
That we never go for another take of a closer shot of the same shot, or from a different
Okay.
perspective. So which also created a bit of a, so Argo, it was in this film that he was a little, he thought that he did not have much work and it was a
Work.
bad thing. you know because sometimes,
That's okay.
because now with the development of playback monitors and you having computers on the set, you tend to just watch the shot and immediately like
Make a
watch it.
decision.
make a decision, and you've seen it so many times immediately after the shot that you totally don't want a different perspective or anything. You totally want to go to the next shot of the next
Yeah.
scene, or you want to
Yeah.
go forward. So a lot of editorial decisions or editorial liberties could already be cut off, or could not be, which was
Yeah.
a lot in case of Shoparanam, where the in terms of edit and sound it was an absolute exploration. But here much was limited to, like you said, for the love of shooting. We spoke and then decided on things, fragments, and we shot the fragments. And it was a fairly Orgo just worked on the rhythm of the film. For instance, the climax sequences, the way it should, the last two shots, the way it should come, and the exact timing that he felt was right. And like that in a lot of places, like the way the Begum Akhtar song turns out in the film, that
Hmm.
whole montage sequence. There are
Hmm.
some things we felt that we could actually construct meaning as a feeling through these constructions, rather than we could never have pre-programmed that Begum Akhtar sequence or
Yeah.
even the riot sequence. When we spoke about it, we did not know like how are we going to film the riot,
Going to
and
work
then
out.
yeah, and then until the point we decided that we'll pick the camera up and then move around, until it was a point of talking about it and arriving at, in terms of idea, as where do you want the audience to see it, how do you want to see violence, or how do you want it to be represented. So this collaboration between the sound designer Gautam, Somu, and I think that is actually the most enriching part for me in this process of filmmaking. Of course, then you get responses from everywhere, audience, what they
Yeah.
feel and everything. But then you have this a space, where they can also, let you know about, what is the sensitivity, and we should not like be carried away.
A
So the
little
mise en scène
about
is a
the,
combined.
yeah, mise-en-scene is a combined effort. But what about the use of the loudspeaker?
Yeah.
Was
And that
that
was actually from the reality. So when we were
okay?
shooting, it was actually Ganesh Chaturthi. So we incorporated that reality to the film, because everywhere you see, you're going to see statues, and we thought that was a great thing for the film. Instead of, sometimes I feel that actually in Dilip Kumar's short story, the question you asked, it was the film was not happening on a Ganesh Chaturthi day.
Oh,
It
I
was happening
see.
on any other day, just another day. And so when it happened on a Ganesh Chaturthi day, we naturally like incorporated that, because we're going to be getting a lot of visuals of this thing. And incidentally, last Ganesh Chaturthi also there was a problem in Coimbatore. There was a riot in some places, shops were broken down. So it is actually a very volatile period, those 3-4 days. And the statues won't be allowed to taken through the, some parts of the town, and not through Muslim areas and all that.
Hmm.
So what happens is, during these festivity days, especially Ganesh Chaturthi and other Hindu festivities, they always play these speakers with sermons of this
Hmm.
religious leader. So it's usually played by these party people. There are these a lot of right wing parties that have come up. You know,
Hmm.
these party people just take up corners of the road. Similarly, all the mosques, they have their own preachings on Thursdays, and so when we were shooting, we shot for 20 days, and we heard a lot of this. It's not recorded, yes. With like the story is giving us the right pointers, because instead of taking it from, let's say, a news report or
Yeah.
anywhere, it's happening in our very street, and we just had to record it. And in fact, they spoke like very. It was crazy whatever they spoke. So I've chosen some parts which is, let's say,
Not so
moderate.
inflammatory.
Yeah, moderate, and still gets the point across. In fact, it was very inflammatory actually what they spoke, both parties.
Both. Uh, I would also like to talk, which I don't know whether you have spoken about your women characters. I found that really interesting. The girls in the shop, the wife character. So, would you like to talk a little about that and how, though he is the main character, I think it's these women also around him that create this sense of ordinariness at one level, but also extraordinariness. You just feel that there's such women we meet every day. When they talk in the shop and their relationship, or the wife, she's going off and coming back and all that. Uh, would you just talk a little about that? Because I really like that element of the background being uh, so ordinary that it's extraordinary, actually, which really
Uh,
pushes your main character to what we perceive him as.
Yes, ma'am. Again, in the short story, Dilip Kumar had written that since Nasir and his wife Taj wouldn't have babies, I mean, they tried, but they couldn't make a baby. They maybe, I mean, he in fact is there's a humorous line which says that it is probably because that they couldn't make baby, they are like babies to each other. You know, when you read it, it's very nice. I mean, he's written it in a
Yeah.
certain way, and that was a good pointer. That okay, these guys, I mean, even though they have an adopted son, Iqbal, it's their relative cousin or somebody, but still they are you still see them exchanging a kiss and all that. So that gentleness that Nasir has is probably also because that he's still very romantic. I mean, he's a romantic at heart. He writes poems and Hindi songs that he
Yeah.
likes to hear and everything. Maybe a bit of that has seeped into his romanticness, but also his wife is strong. She actually is sometimes can shout at him and make him see him, but he understand. I think that's also a case in a lot of middle class and lower middle class houses, that especially in working class houses, that even though your man might in many cases be an idiot and everything, the woman you can never escape the I mean you can never escape the central presence of women in your life. In all these, even in the shop, actually the woman has a, I mean, she has a corner and she takes care of that corner and everybody likes her to be in that corner, and she's okay. I mean, even though she knows that these guys have no shame, and she has to put up with them, she's okay with that. And the very fact that she's okay with that and she's not complaining actually gives her
Strength.
they don't trouble her also. So like that, Taj also, we thought anyway she's going to leave Nasir, and because that was also not there in the short story. He was not going to drop her back
At
to
the
the he was actually, when in the short story her wife is already there in when the story
Oh,
is happening, Nasir is alone in the house only. His wife
okay.
is like somewhere in the relative's house. So I thought,
Oh,
why don't we have the house wife be in the house, and then let him drop her, and probably that will be the last time that she will see him.
see each other. Mm.
That small possibility of love, that it's like when two people, whether you have kids or not, in this case they don't, but if they have Iqbal as their kid, but every day they're trying, okay, to in some way be the support system for each other. And I think that is beautiful about life, that even if it's a man or woman, even in a family or in a shop, we need these support systems, even though we might disagree in terms of character perspectives and everything. There is a lot of give and take that we don't actually see, which is there
Mm.
in a very normal thing, like sharing household chores, to like him
Mm.
helping her to catch water. It's a very
Yeah.
normal thing. You have to do it. There is no pride in doing it, or you don't become good out of doing it. You just have to do. If you don't do it, then you become lazy and you're being an ass.
Mm.
But the normal thing is to do, because it's a common thing for. So so taking from this gentleness that Dilip Kumar had kind of shown, in his writing, in terms of humor, also in terms of this thing, I kind of picked up from there. And also the casting of Taj, she had this
I was
face
just
that
going to say the whole casting. How did you do all
yes.
the casting for this film?
We were since I was around that area, some of the faces I had zeroed down. I want this kind of a face, and so we casted some characters from that locality, and we had announced auditions in Chennai, Coimbatore, and Madurai. A lot of people who had not acted before or only acted in few short films and all had come. They did auditions, and some because since we had we were clear that we don't want regular cinema artists or junior artists from Chennai, because here is a film which kind of everybody is a supporting actor apart from the main character, and it has to feel real in terms of every scene that he goes and the people he kind of meets, they have to feel that they are from here, and we don't need to have a memory of them
From
of a
some.
different from some and all that. So that in that way, finding some faces from Madurai, some faces from Chennai, and mostly from Coimbatore, and putting them all in the, because Coimbatore again is a multicultural place and we have people from everywhere. So instead of just casting from that locality, we kind of mixed it out. Let's find interesting talents from anywhere who are who can fit into this realistic zone of acting and just behaving there. In fact, our production designer Mausam, for a couple of shots, if you remember, the two elderly ladies come to take sari, and Nasir would
Yeah,
show them
yeah,
sari, and so
yeah.
we didn't have extras, and whoever had to come did not come. So our production designer Mausam, she just went on the road, and those two ladies were selling Mallipu on the
Uh,
streets. Jasmine, they brought them and made them act. So we just, and we had
nice
one
team
take to
also.
do. Yeah, we had only one take, and it just happened.
Okay.
So a lot of nice
And the
accidents.
main protagonist, did you?
Kumaran Valavan is a theatre director. I got to know through of him through this Kudreiwal film that you have here,
Yeah,
Hostel. Director
yeah.
Manoj. One day Manoj told me that I've been looking for a protagonist for long, and me and Manoj are good friends for like 10 years. And I was telling Manoj that I want a person like this with the face features, with face and long nose and so he was saying, "Have you tried Valavan, Kumaran Valavan?" And I said, "I've heard of him. I know him as a theatre director, but is he an actor?" He said, then I went and met him, and within 5 minutes, I knew that he was a happy-go-lucky man, just like the character. He would be very simple. He happens to be a guy with a PhD in particle physics. He was a professor in Marseille University in France.
Okay.
So he's translated Baudelaire and Victor Hugo from French to
Oh,
Tamil.
really?
He's like a heavyweight guy in theater and also in literature. But you never get to know that on the outside. He's very simple, and even everywhere that we shot, he would mingle so easily with everybody. With
Uh,
the so that kind of so the ordinariness that you actually like in Nasir is partly to do with how Kumaran is actually is. So somehow I think I got lucky with casting him because a lot of that work he had that
mm,
spirit, and it's very difficult to fake a good person, let's say, or an
mm,
ordinary person.
mm,
You might come off being a little over smart or like
mm.
behaving. So
Or
he had it
acting.
in him. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, just to come to this notion, thing of the indie space in Tamil cinema, because you said I didn't want to cast anybody that was. Um, so, you have chosen to work in this indie space, and is it working out? Is the question. Is it worth it? Is it? I mean,
So
worth it?
it's
Not,
not.
of course, it's worth it.
Yes,
That's a silly way to ask, but I'm just saying, in terms of, sometimes you feel, yeah, I want more audiences. I want to be, you know. So if you, and also in terms of getting money to make your new films, etc. If you could talk about the indie space
yes, ma'am. And
and the advantages and disadvantages of being in that space.
yeah. No, no, you're right. Absolutely, it is absolutely worth it. When that is the only thing that is driving us, because this amazing manifold, I mean, emotions that you can feel as an independent filmmaker. I mean, that is actually the disadvantage also. That because you might end up feeling the extremes of everything, starting from finding finance. So somehow I was lucky that for my first film there was a person like Suresh Kumar who was ready to give 10 lakhs, and then we ended up finishing the film for 15 lakhs, and still we couldn't make any money on that film. But we made that film, even though however little it had few screenings, and then that brought me somehow into making my next film. So my producer Mathivanan Rajendran, he actually saw Shivapuranam
Shivapuran.
in Mami screening, the one you curated. So it helps. So every film and every screening in a way helps that he saw the film there, and he wanted to be an independent producer. He contacted me, and somehow after a whole 2 years of also side by side raising money, getting multiple partners on board, and even making this film as a co-production, um, it now looking back, since this film is being termed as a sensitive film because it's on a subject like this, that OTT platforms, which most independent filmmakers over the last 5 years have been relying hugely on these monopoly organizations like Amazon and Netflix, and now is when you actually see the colors, in a way
Mm.
fading, because uh, now I mean, OTTs are strongly having a say at what their audience should see.
Content.
I mean, content
Yeah.
has to be it has to appeal to the popular masses, and probably they have experimented with their uh, list of independent films or whatever. But now, strangely, for the last 2 years, they have not been getting any interesting independent films from India. And my concern right now as an independent filmmaker is this whole distribution system, which has always been the challenge, right from independent films were ever being made. How do you distribute it? Maybe in the 60s, 70s, the so-called parallel filmmakers or independent filmmakers were able to release their films in theaters. Now the trend has come to certain niche films and certain niche multiplexes can get released. But largely, especially in Tamil Nadu, where we never had a tradition of the so-called art or auteur filmmaking, we never had. So this is new. We have now 5 to 6 films which have come up, and I'm actually so surprised and so glad that in IFFK this year we have three Tamil films. Three Tamil
Yeah.
films in Indian cinema today, and that's more than half the section is with Tamil films.
That's
And I
very
think
true.
that marks the start. I think this event marks the start of you can see that Tamil indie films, like you can point fingers at 5, 6 films. And so now is the challenge of how is the ecosystem in Tamil Nadu going to react to it? How are the producers, distributors going to help each other or create a kind of a, a distribution mechanism where in limited theaters we have to like show the film, or we need partners who will like take these films up and try and show the film, because only then, I mean, it's great. I can still make another film probably on a very, very much lesser budget than Shivapuranam, because since both the films have not made money, even though you might want to branch out in terms of stories, you have scripts which require more people and more money and all that. The market is also sometimes certain things it get influenced. But my thing is, an independent filmmaker never makes films for the market, or is never dictated by the market, and that is where your independentness lies. You're interdependent. You need your crew sometimes to understand and get paid in certain ways which suit that particular film and all that. But still, you are independent because you refuse to oblige to the market. Okay, the OTT won't take my films. That doesn't mean I start making films that the OTT will like, or the theaters would like. This was always the case. As an independent filmmaker, you're going to face problems of distribution. So it's always better, and also that's the way you start. You start with small films, ideas which are practically possible, not huge budgets, and you see how it goes. See ways of, because we also see silver lining. We see many independent films being getting top awards, making their money back, and going to good festivals, getting some distribution deals or sales deals. So that is also happening, but it's not an absolute yes that you can make a small budget film and you'll be so it's a space where the producers have to step in, especially the independent producers who work with these independent filmmakers. They will help us find better avenues where in smaller budget films can at least make the capital back, so that we can some kind of sustainability is there in the process. Because the only way this can move ahead is the sustainability aspect being clearly explored. Otherwise it's going to be a dead end. And that dead end will be like people listening, going back to the market and giving reasons for what kind of films audience should watch, or what you should make for the
Yeah.
audience or for the platforms. So beyond that, as an independent filmmaker, I think we should just go with stories which somehow find a way. Because all the films, especially places like IFFK and all these film societies, have shown films to us which have like transcended all these boundaries of money, censorship. And that is where the beauty of all this community gathering festivals, it instills that confidence in you that, okay, here is a challenge. Wow, okay, now I have a challenge. Okay, now either constraint of money or of that of censorship, an independent filmmaker should feel probably totally fueled by a challenge or multiple challenges, let's say.
Challenges. Yeah. So to end, what are you doing now? Is there something else in the pipeline? And
Yes, ma'am. I'm writing a film. I've written one draft of it, and we plan to shoot it by this year. So just
okay.
trying to raise money, which again is usually the
It's the usual.
yeah.
Anyway, thanks so
Thank
much. We
thank you,
really
ma'am. Thanks for
enjoyed the
having our
film,
film.
and thanks for sharing the film, and thanks for making the film. In these times, it talks about a very, very important. I would actually like to end with asking you, um, how dire is the situation? Is there, I mean, because the film is really hopeless in a sense.
Mm.
There's a great sense of sadness that you leave the film with. Do you feel that sense of sadness? Do you feel that sense of,
So that melancholy is
almost,
always there, ma'am. Because even the farmer protests that you see, any kind of protest itself is being seen as a criminal activity. And now, I mean, there is more effort to make you feel guilty about your own expression. I mean, you feel
mm,
so all the new rules about who you can be jailed for a Facebook status or for sharing something, and so the from independent freedom and expression from your culture, from your religious identity, it's going to all your cultural and your intellectual identities, and everything is being put into question. So the only way to feel hopeful is about speaking back, you know and the fact that I think, uh, I mean, this fear actually instills this thing to actually it should be spoken about. Once you speak
mm,
this fear out, I think there's no more, um, you're
that's right.
acknowledging the reality.
Oh, great. That's a good way to end. Thanks
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much. Thanks
Thank
so
you, ma'am.
much, Anand. Yeah.
Yes.